So I'm on a beach in Barrytown on the west coast of the South Island, to Waiponamu. And it's a beautiful day here today. And even though it's a beautiful day, some people are looking at the world in a very different way. And I want to talk about today, what world are you living in? What world are you living in? And for me, for such a long time, in my conscious awareness experience, my conscious awakening experience, I was adhering to a very different world than the one I am today. And it was the work of Barbara Marciniak channeling the Pleiadians that put me into this mind frame now that I am living in this moment right now, which is, look around me. Look at the world I'm living in. It's serene, it's peaceful, it's harmonious, it's beautiful. Even though around me in the world, on the planet I'm living on, there are many incidences taking place that are horrific, horrendous, and there are places where people are suffering and in conflict, dying, hardship, grief, sorrow, and pain, horror. These experiences I have to look at in a very different way now, because I look at them in the sense that perhaps there's souls, and perhaps, in my perception anyway, source energy is experiencing itself through those people, through those avatars, through those people in the way that it needs to experience what it needs to experience and what it chooses to experience. It chooses to experience suffering, it chooses to experience sorrow, it chooses to experience conflict and know what it's like through those people, through those avatars, through those bodies, through those men and women. And for me, the last few weeks, I've experienced conflict, I've experienced disharmony, I've experienced horror, and I've experienced the most worst behavior you could ever consider from people. And then today in Punakaiki, up the road from where I am, I went to see a friend of mine, Felicity, who's staying at the oceanside Punakaiki beach campground. And the woman working at reception, the Punakaiki beach camp, came out of the reception yesterday and said to me, "You can't stay here, you can't use the facilities here because you're not staying here." I was going to visit my friends and go for a walk on the beach. She comes out and says, "You can't stay here, you can't use the facilities here." So I went in to see my friend Felicity and her kids, had dinner with them last night. And then this morning I went back to see them after having a meditation and a swim in the Paparoa National Park in the river. Beautiful, cool morning, had breakfast, and a lovely start to the day. I went down to the Punakaiki beach camp and parked my van outside the actual beach camp itself. I went to go inside, and this is what I'm saying. This is the world that she's obviously living in. It's a dark, dark, dark world, because she came running out of the reception as I went to walk into the camp and said, "You can't go in there. You can't go in there because you're not staying here." And she used that tone with me, that context. She was yelling at me, being angry at me for even considering to walk into that beach camp. And that's the world that she's living in her mind. You know, there's a strict protocol. You can't do this. You can't do this. There's all that anger and vehemence and her use of tone and the way she presented herself. What world was she living in? It's a beautiful day here on the West Coast. What's so wrong for me to walk onto the beach camp and say to my friend Felicity, "Hey, what are you doing today? Should we go for a walk on the beach? Should we go down to the river for a swim? Bring your kids, let's get in the car and we'll go for a drive." No, I had to ask her to please go onto the property and get my friends to come out onto the street to talk to me. What world is she living in? I don't know. But to act with that anger, with that tone and that context, I have to ask the question, what world are you living in? And for me, for so many years, I adhered to a world where I was buying into all of the horror, all of the energy around where the powers that be, the parasite class want to take this planet's society and global society into this transhumanist nightmare, want to depopulate the planet to a point where they have only a few million people that are able to control, who are implanted with chips. La da 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 da. I could go on and on and on. There's so many narratives you could choose from. But now, thanks to the Pleiadians and Barbara Marciniak, I ask this question when I wake up every day, when I go to bed at night time, when I sleep. What world am I living in? Look around me. What world am I living in? Where are all these horrors? Are they happening to me right now? And the answer is no. I have such deep gratitude for the world that I'm living in. Even though I'm faced with conflict, projection, anger, blame and guilt and fear from people. It's got nothing to do with me. My test in this situation is how I choose to chill, love, and rise above that energy when it's projected onto me. And I have been projected onto in the last 3-4 weeks from people. Their bullshit, not mine. And you know what? I'm creating the situation. I know that. I'm creating the situation where I'm experiencing this. I'm the one that's creating this experience. I take full responsibility for everything I create in my life. Every experience that I have, I take full responsibility for it. So therefore, I'm creating the situation where I'm experiencing this, and my test is how I choose to respond to that situation. I'm doing, for me, big tick, I'm doing it well. I'm being as loving, as patient, and as kind as I can be to people who are anything but that to me. And that's the world they're living in. In my world, it's peaceful. In my world, it's beautiful. In my world, there's connection and love, beauty. Look at this. I mean, look at this. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. There's no one on this beach. And look at the mountains over here behind me. Well, it's not so great, but there you go. The mountains around me on the coast here. It's beautiful. This is the world I'm living in. I'm living in a place of harmony, resonance, and connection with nature. I'm traveling in my van to a festival called Spirit Fest South Island. I'm going to go into the Arthur's Pass today, visit a friend from Byron Bay who's come back to see her parents at Stillwater near Greymouth. She's painting today, creating a piece of art. I'm going to go and see it. This is the world I'm living in. There's nothing here in my experience. All those doom scrolling news feeds that I used to tap into. And the last 3 years for me, I've got to this place where I've realized this after living my life in a way that I was so deeply in a place where I was picking apart certain narratives and looking at what was happening in the world and letting it affect me in a way that was causing me to feel like I was almost felt hopeless moving forward in the world. But now, thanks to the Pleiadians, I'm looking at my life experience and going, what world am I living in? How much gratitude can I have in my heart for the life I am leading and creating? Even those moments that I'm having experiences with people that are deeply, deeply fearful in their actions and their words towards me. The anger that people have towards me, the conflicts they want to create with me, and how I choose to respond to those. You know, in the last few weeks, I've been triggered in many ways by experiences, deep feelings of unworthiness, not belonging, not being seen. And then what happened to me last week and this week is that someone saw me, someone got me, someone actually felt in a way that I was worthy of their attention. I had to get that one out properly and correctly without getting the wrong words. But I met somebody who sees me and gets me. The tenderness that we share with each other. The reality that we live in a very different world to the ones that we once upon a time adhered to. Where the universe moves through us and experiences life through us. And we choose to open up our hearts in a way that by doing this and experiencing this feeling of connectedness to the multiverse and allowing it to flow through us, that every experience that we bring into our lives is our own creation. We created everything. But the choice then becomes how we choose to respond to that creation. And then we look around us. What world are we living in? Hours and hours of doom scrolling through information. It's good to know it's there. It's good to know that there are conflicts. In the situation we find ourselves, we're moving into an ascending Dwapara cycle. It's good to know that there are the illumination of all that's been hidden. The shadow's been brought to the surface. Personal shadow and collective shadow being brought to the surface for everyone to see. It's all happening. It really is. But what world are we living in? What are we creating? What are we giving our attention to? Energy goes where attention flows. Well, is that the way it's supposed to be, or is it attention goes where energy flows? You make it up for yourself. I'm confused on that one, because to me they're both the same thing. The same thing. So yeah, for me it's about putting my attention into places in my heart space and feeling the connectivity to all that is. Being aware of what's going on in the world. I'm not oblivious to what's going on in the world. But I understand in my heart of hearts that maybe, just maybe, source energy wants to experience all these experiences objectively. And it's my place to be objective in that sense, that when all this is going down and all this doom scrolling, horror, conflict, suffering is happening on this planet, in this consciousness, in this density, maybe it needs to happen. Maybe the source energy is wanting to experience all of this as much as it wants to experience through me, my own experience, my unique experience, my lens of perception. Source energy wants to experience what I'm experiencing and creating, because that's what I am, and so are you. What world are you living in? What world are you creating for yourself? What are you adhering to? What are you giving your attention to? How grateful are you for your existence? Can you be grateful for everything you experience and you create in your life? Phone ran out of juice. I had to come back and charge it in the van. Thanks for watching. Matewa. I'll see you again soon.